Tonight, the High Court grants an injunction against the Electoral Boundaries Commission in a claim filed by opposition MP Guy Joseph. Dead in the water, the Department of Fisheries begins an investigation into a significant fish kill in the Shock River. A restaurateur is arrested and charged after accusations that he spat in the face of a beach vendor. And the Ministry of Health has expressed concern about the impact of the social media on the spread of HIV and AIDS. Hello, good evening. It is Thursday, the 19th of February 2015, and this is the DBS News World with me, Onel Sanford Bell. Our top story tonight, the High Court has granted an injunction against the Electoral Boundaries Commission in a case filed by Castries Southeast MP Guy Joseph. The Commission just recently recommended an increase in the island's electoral constituencies from 17 to 21, but the recommendation has been dogged by intense controversy, with critics questioning the autonomy of the process. Mr. Guy Joseph summoned a news conference today to explain his opposition to the process. DBS's Don Nicholas, who was there, begins our news coverage tonight.
The application names the Boundaries Commission as the first defendant, the Prime Minister as the second, and the Attorney General acting in her capacity as the legal representative of the Governor General as the third. Mr. Joseph's constituency is one of those being divided to increase the number of constituencies from 17 to 21. The issue at stake, according to Mr. Joseph, is the process in submitting the report, which he says is flawed. Mr. Joseph quoted Section 57 of the Constitution, which states that the Boundaries Commission must operate as a separate entity.
It is contrary to the established laws of the Constitution. And it is our democracy that is at stake here. It is not Guy Joseph. It is not just the constituency of Castries Southeast. But there appears to be a fundamental breach in what the Constitution establishes as how a commission should function, which is as a single entity.
A number of supporters came out to show their solidarity with Mr. Joseph, some under the weather but still turning out nonetheless. One message was clear, and that is they want Prime Minister Dr. Kenny Anthony out.
I want Kenny out of there because he wants to sell the country over us. That's what I want. I want him to go out, and he wants to share the constituencies in two pieces so he can win Guy, but he can't win Guy. He make a mistake, he have to go and climb the tree and come back. He will not win Guy.
I support my rep 100% in everything that he do, because he's directing us in the right way, and he's not doing it for himself, he's doing it for us. And the way that the Prime Minister and his colleagues has split the constituency, nobody will agree to that. They have put it the side where the labor rights are there, they put it on the side for them to win. We are not in agreement with that.
What I want in my country, peace and love God more and more everything. We need peace in the country. We need love. We need work for the young children in the country. When SLP there, I cannot even save $1. When UWP was there, I used to have $1 in my pocket, and now you cannot save nothing. What kind of happy show Kenny doing?
Kenny, the nation, demo support ma pas content. Et dit tout temps là, chasse n'est pas ça jamais grand. Moi voulais Kenny ça, country c'est pas ça. Country ça nous tout. Et si garder background li, avec background chasse ni, il kawe pèse li plus gros parce chasse ni. So hodia nous parler puis nous country à vivre because hodia c'est pas tant massade.
The legal challenge being mounted by Mr. Guy Joseph comes just days after the British Privy Council handed down a decision in favor of the St. Kitts opposition, forcing the Denzel Douglas-led administration to revert to holding an election with the original number of constituencies. As it panned out, Dr. Douglas was able to capture only 3 of the 11 seats at stake in the poll. Mr. Joseph, for his part, says if the cut in his constituency goes ahead as planned, even his constituency office will not be sitting in the section allocated to him.
They took off all of there for Capitol Hill, the Mon, sent it to Castries South. They took another piece in Foncaco and these areas, sent it to Babondo. They took another piece from Badney, Odsa. Even my understanding is even in my constituency office where I am seated today is no longer part of my constituency if this cutting of the boundary goes ahead.
The matter involving Mr. Joseph's injunction will be heard in court on February 27th. Mr. Joseph presented what he said was a constituency boundaries report by the Commonwealth Secretariat commissioned by Dr. Anthony in 1998, which highlights the same issues that the Castries Southeast MP is raising. For the DBS News World, I am Don Nicholas.
Thank you, Dawn. The Department of Fisheries has appealed to members of the public not to eat fish that have begun washing up on the banks of the Shock River. The department is currently investigating the discovery of a number of fish, both alive and dead, near the river this morning. Here is DBS's Alex Bousquet with that report.
This bag full of fish was collected by employees of the National Conservation Authority who turned up for work Thursday morning at the Shock Beach. While cleaning up the beach, they discovered a number of fish that appeared to be stunned while others were dead. The fish were found at the mouth of the Shock River where it joins the sea.
When I went to the end, I saw a lot of fishes at the side and in the water swimming. So we start picking up some to bring to shore that the complex could come and identify if it's good or if it's not.
You know, it's the same thing we talk about, that persons are not supposed to drop these chemicals in the water, and I definitely believe it's something of the sort that happened. That's why so many of the fish are lying down the river and the sea side.
It would appear that the fish are actually from the river. So it's more than likely freshwater fish that are dying.
Upon discovery of the fish, the NCA workers immediately summoned officials of the Fisheries Department and other related agencies, and an investigation was immediately commenced. The probe took the investigating team to Union Industrial Estate, where discolored water led them to suspect that a chemical had been released into the drain, which feeds into the Shock River.
They are what we refer to as brackish water fish. Some of them include mullet, what we locally call mealy. We also notice some snook, as well as some tilapia, or what we commonly refer to as the Atkinson. We've noticed some fish up to approximately 2.5 to 3 pounds. So some very large fish appeared to have died for whatever reason, which at this time we cannot confirm what exactly has transpired.
The thing we could do at this present time is to carry out water quality testing above the drainage point we just sourced, where there is some grayish, reddish water coming off into the river. Also carrying out a water quality sample test below that source.
It's not the first time that chemicals released into the water that runs into Shock River have been blamed for the death of aquatic animals. Officials have appealed to members of the public to beware of consuming the fish, some of which weigh up to about 3 pounds. The investigation is continuing. For the DBS News World, I am Alex Bousquet.
A student of the Grand Riviere Secondary School in Dennery is dead as a result of a suspected drowning in Dominica. 13-year-old Rondell Etienne, the son of Dominican parents, is reported to have gone with 2 female relatives for a bath in the Belfast River in Maho when he encountered difficulty. Relatives reported that his cries for help were initially dismissed as he was thought to be joking. When those present eventually realized that he was in trouble, they are reported to have gone to his assistance and rendered first aid, but it was too late. The teenager, who is in Form 2, was rushed to hospital where he was later pronounced dead. The restaurant owner accused of spitting in the face of a beachside vendor has been formally charged by police. The Vendors Association, which has been calling for action to be taken against the man, has applauded the move by the police.
We are not dabbling in jubilation, but we are happy. To us, it's some sort of victory for us that Mr. Richins is formally charged by the police for assaulting Mistress Marietta Benjamin. And we think that due process has taken its course, and the police, the DDP, and all those involved have done their job, whether under pressure from the general public and from the Vendors Association, wherever, but they have done what was necessary, what we think should happen.
The incident occurred last month, January 2015. Mr. Isaac says while he understands a charge is not a conviction, the message has been delivered that no one is above the law, regardless of race or social position. The restaurant owner in question has always denied the allegations against him. In other news, classes at the Babino Primary stopped yesterday after the school got a visit from a strange and uninvited guest, an iguana. The creature wandered onto the school grounds from a nearby garden, startling many of the students and teachers who had never seen the animal up close and personal before that day.
I was told that it climbed over a wall that is near the garden, and of course with the students having seen the iguana, they were all excited, and with all the noise and commotion, the iguana, I was told, dashed into an old building that we have not too far away from the garden. So I walked up to that area, and there I saw the iguana in a room. Of course, it was taking refuge from all the excitement and all the students who were around it.
The police were summoned and the creature was captured and removed, but school officials suspect it won't be the last time that they have such visitors, as the neighboring community of Debara reportedly has a large population of iguanas. The unexpected visit also provided a perfect opportunity for teachers to impart a lesson on wildlife protection. The iguana is a protected species under the Saint Lucia Wildlife Protection Act and is not supposed to be captured and slaughtered. 2 crews from the Saint Lucia Fire Service responded this afternoon to reports of a fire at the Ministry of Infrastructure at Union. The fire occurred in a container that is used to store documents.
At about 15:34, we received a call that there's a container on fire at the in Union, that is Ministry of Infrastructure. On arrival, we discovered it was a container containing paper that was on fire. It's presently, the firemen are extinguishing the fire. I think there was a welder tried to weld something on the container, and the sparks started the fire.
No one was injured in the fire. An assessment is currently being carried out to determine the extent of the damage. And work is returning to normal at the Saint Lucia Linen Services Limited after a fire on Tuesday night. The blaze, which occurred just before midnight, damaged linen and equipment at the company, which is located at the Union Industrial Estate. However, the company says the fire did minimal damage. Saint Lucia Linen Services Limited has been operating here in Saint Lucia for more than 20 years and employs nearly 50 persons. It provides linen and uniform rental, commercial laundering and other services. And from that to Street Vibes, here is Alex Bousquet with tonight's presentation. Alex?
Well, hello. I am Alex Bousquet. Once again, you're watching Street Vibes. Today, the people speak to an open mic.
My contribution is the corner of Big Mama facing the police station. They have a lot of grasses there. I need them government to take somebody to clean it before they rip somebody there. That's all I have to say. And it's high time to keep their city clean.
I am very excited over the revision of the boundaries. I think a good job was done because Grizzly seemed to have really been too much for one representative. But it is open. Any side can win the extra 2 seats, or one side can win all the extra 2 seats. And the same for Castries North, East and Castries Northwest. But I am affected. I am glad that had removed from his castries. Not that I didn't like my representative, but I think it is a very good thing to have Ravin Shabbat and Bokas with castries in office. So I'm looking forward to the next campaign, if life lasts.
As a boy, when we were getting our independence, and the white governor was leaving the country, and we were putting our own kind there, I said, farewell, Saint Lucia. Farewell, Saint Lucia. It will never be the same again. As you can see now, to put our own kind there, they still have the slave mentality in their mind, you know.
Well, I have to comment on Kenny bringing this so-called ex-Prime Minister of St. Kitts St. Lucia to talk on his party's behalf. Well, I hope that he's taking note that Douglas was ousted. He was booted out of office earlier in the week. Well, the same way Douglas, his so-called buddy, was booted out of office, is the very same way we St. Lucian people will boot Kenny out of office. This VAT thing that he has brought us, which is crippling our pockets, we definitely is not in agreement with it, and we want it to be halved. So we have to bring the next party into office so our affairs could be better in St. Lucia. The same way Douglas was booted out of office is the same way we're going to boot Kenny out of office come election time.
You've just been watching Street Vibes of me, Alex Busque, down here at the Aquarius Crossing, the intersection of Coral and St. Louis Street. With that, we'll take you back to our studio.
You're watching St. Lucia's News Leader and listening to us on Rhythm FM 95.5. We're also online, the big screen at the Aquarius Crossing in downtown Castries, Live FM 95.1 in the south, and Kyrie FM 93.1. Still to come, the Ministry of Health has expressed concern about the impact of the social media on the spread of HIV and AIDS, and more support for a proposed national registry of convicted child sex offenders. I'll have details when we come back. Stay with us. Thank you so much for staying with the broadcast. The Ministry of Health is concerned about the impact that social media may be having on the spread of HIV/AIDS. Health officials say social media are helping people, especially young people, to interact with and hook up with other people much easier and to identify willing sexual partners.
A lot of groups forming and people communicate between the different groups. So they hook up, much faster now, and they have much more willing sexual partners. And when you have that, you have some people who are at higher risk because they don't have unprotected sex and they have multiple partners. So that increases the risk of sexually transmitted infection, not just HIV, but syphilis and HCLV infection.
Health officials say the flood of pornographic material on social media lately is an indication of how serious the situation is and how promiscuous young people are becoming. The ministry says it will be focusing its resources on education, behavior change and prevention. It is also advising users of social media to exercise caution when dating on social media, to get to know the individuals they meet on social media before engaging in sexual activity with them, and to make sure they are screened for STIs, sexually transmitted infections. A secondary school teacher is supporting calls for the compilation of a national registry of child sex offenders. The local organization Zandoli International Foundation recently launched a petition to get the registry started. DBS's Don Nicholas reports.
Mary Skelly, a teacher at the Clendon Mason Memorial School, is calling for the Sexual Offenders Registry to be compiled. Ms. Skelly says that from time to time, students confide in their teachers about matters of sexual abuse and that the perpetrators ought to be known in the communities.
All the time, the students come to us, especially as health and family life educators, and yes, they confide in us. And we need to be very tactful, very careful how we deal with those matters. I've been listening to the debate on the sex offenders registry in St. Saint Lucia, and I must say I am one who is in support of it, because I believe that it is important that people know that their environment is safe.
Ms. Kelly says that already some perpetrators are yet to be caught and as a result will not appear on the list, but those who have been dealt with ought to be registered.
If the environment is not safe, especially with our children who are so vulnerable, we need to protect them. And if that is the way to go, which I think is good, we need to do it. That is my opinion on the matter. Because we know that a lot of our children, they are being adversely affected in situations like this.
Ms. Kelly made the comments during a visit by students of the Clendon Mason Secondary School to the Prime Minister's official residence. Just recently, National Security Minister Victor Lecordonnier expressed opposition to the Child Sex Offenders Registry, saying that it would make it impossible for convicted persons to reintegrate into a small society like St. Lucia's once they have served their time. For the DBS News World, I am Don Nicholas.
Thank you, Don. The St. Lucia Animal Protection Society, under fire for running an animal shelter in a residential neighborhood, has now called on the government for help. The society wants the current administration to act on the organization's long-standing request for a piece of land. The society's shelter is currently located at Beauséjour. Here is DBS's Alex Bousquet with more.
The society wants an area away from residents where an animal shelter will not be a source of problems for neighbors. The society says it's been more than a decade since it submitted a request to the government for land, and the waiting continues.
12 years ago we went to the government. We pointed out a piece of land at Union. It's not in a residential area, so it wouldn't hurt anybody, wouldn't disrupt anybody. And we asked if we could lease this land or if the government would give us so that we could build a shelter on. And they came back and they said it's been earmarked for other people. So we left it at that and asked if there was anything else. They didn't come up with anything else. 5 years ago we went back because this land is still empty, there's still nothing there. And we asked again. We gave them a big proposal of all what we would do for the country and for the animals of St. Lucia, and they said it was a very good proposal, but unfortunately the land is earmarked again for something else. Today it's still empty, and what we really need is the people of St. Lucia to get behind us and help us get a piece of land so that we can look after the animals here.
According to the president of SLAPS, the organization does not only house the animals, but slows down the growth of the stray animal population as well.
We are producing a service. We're giving a service to the country. Pretty much all the dogs we pick up, we have neutered, male and female, before they're adopted into homes. We help people from, if they have a financial problem, we help people get their animals neutered, because this is the biggest problem, too many puppies and kittens. So we're backwards and forwards to the vet. We get animals neutered every week, and we have great support from several vets on the island, and we appreciate very much their help. But we just need to be able to do more, and every week to make a bigger difference. If we had a shelter, we'd be able to take in more animals, we'd be able to care for them a little better, have a vet come to us instead of us running around. You know, we don't need a huge piece of land, just a small piece somewhere, get attable. And, you know, we're begging government again to look at our proposal, to look at what we need, and to help us.
The piece of land identified at Union, the organization says, is ideal because of easy access. SLAPS also says the plot is in a non-residential area and that the society is willing to repair an abandoned building on it. In addition, the organization says to help reduce the number of animals it currently cares for, it is encouraging citizens to adopt some of them. For the DBS News World, I am Alex Bousquet.
Private sector players met at the Bay Gardens Hotel today to brainstorm on a services sector strategy for the island. Here is DBS's Kendall Burton.
Today's meeting follows similar exercises with various other stakeholders on the subject.
We do have persons from a cross-section of the private sector in fashion, engineering, architecture, photography, management consultants. And so they would be, as private sector people, input into the whole process.
The consultation is the coalition's response to the absence of an overarching policy for the services sector here in St. Lucia. Such a strategy is even more critical in light of St. Lucia's and the region's increasing dependence on services.
So far, St. Lucia's had piecemeal approaches to things, and the economy is more or less still largely dependent on one service sector, which is tourism. As we all know, in the last couple of years, as the tourism sector goes through cycles, then you have mass difficulties throughout the rest of the economy. You need to diversify the economy, and the attempt to do that is to start first with a sort of coherent approach to plot a couple sectors, 6 or 7, 8 sectors, in which you look at policy interventions and administrative and other legal and regulatory changes.
Such a strategy will give the public a clearer picture of where government hopes to take the sector. It will also better position it to take advantage of several opportunities for advancement and development and to identify funding sources for implementation.
Besides that, I mean, we recognize the opportunities for the services sector. We've signed an economic partnership agreement, which has opened up something like about 27 sectors for the services. And so there are opportunities that as service providers that we need to tap into.
The next step is to have the strategy or policy adopted by Cabinet and to have the consultants' recommendations implemented. For the DBS News World, Kendall Burton reporting.
The pastors at the Trinity Lutheran Church must be pretty tired tonight. They have been up since midnight offering up prayers on behalf of the nation. The Ministry of Transformation, as part of Independence observances, had invited pastors to pray for the country over local radio stations every 3 hours.
We weren't able to participate in that, but that was kind of what geared us towards doing something in our own community so that we could offer beautiful vybz an opportunity to come and pray for our nation as well. What we did is, as this is the beginning of the Lenten season, we had a worship service last night, 6:30 for our Ash Wednesday worship service. And then one of our pastors, Pastor Bromdale Ramgalam, he stayed until midnight. And at midnight we opened up the church and turned all of the lights on. Hopefully the neighbors didn't mind at the brightness of the lights. But then had a prayer at midnight, and then again left the church open. At 3 o'clock we had another prayer for the nation. 6 o'clock this morning, and 9 and at 12.
The members and staff of Trinity Lutheran Church have been gathering every 3 hours for 15 minutes to pray for the nation and their communities. They will continue doing so until midnight tonight. The Sir Ira Simmons Secondary School showcased activities today in celebration of St. Lucia's 36th anniversary of independence, and Consolidated Foods Limited found it fitting to come on board to officially unveil the Sir Ira Simmons Lunch Tables project. The project was submitted as part of the Super J IGA Unity in Community program. The Royal St. Lucia Police Force made an appearance as fire eaters and cheerleaders.
The principal, Mrs. Ale, saw a need when she came in to the school, because she's the new principal of the school. She saw a need because currently the school, previously the school had only 2 dilapidated lunch tables, and for serving a population of over 600 students, this just was not sufficient. So as a result, they submitted this project proposal, and now they're, thanks to CFL, not just our $10,000 grant through the Unity in Community program, but also our volunteers came in to help with the project, teamed up with the parents and the teachers to make this possible. So, we're really excited about this and happy that now the children will be a little more comfortable during lunchtime and during their recreational periods.
The school submitted its lunch tables proposal as part of Zone E, which is the Castries area. St. Lucia's National Commission has released a special documentary to coincide with its 34th anniversary in St. Lucia. DBS's Alex Busquet tells us more.
UNESCO has for the past 34 years been represented in St. Lucia by the St. Lucia National Commission. It has just released a documentary entitled A Celebration of Personalities and Progress.
This 30-minute documentary is intended to highlight the accomplishments
of the National Commission and the progress made in the pursuit of our mandate of promoting the work of UNESCO while mobilizing resources to assist in meeting the development agenda of St. Lucia.
Dr. Robert Lewis, as Minister of Education, is the current chairperson of the St. Lucia National Commission for UNESCO. Featured in the documentary was the very first chairperson of the commission, Prime Minister Dr. Kenny Anthony, the then Minister for Education.
We gained our independence in 1979, and following independence, St. Lucia had to be admitted to a number of international organizations. UNESCO was one of them.
The documentary pays tribute to those who served the St. Lucia National Commission for UNESCO, among them the volunteers of the various subcommittees established.
I salute the many men and women who devoted their time, energies, and expertise to the various subcommissions of the National Commission. The St. Lucia National Commission for UNESCO in particular, and St. Lucia in general, honor your contribution and express our profound gratitude for your many years of service.
The first settled and longest serving Secretary General was Ms. Lawrence Laurent, along with the longest serving chairperson, Education Minister Louis George, were honored for laying the foundation for UNESCO's 3 decades of service to St. Lucia. In the documentary, Dr. Anthony paid tribute to the deceased Louis George.
An outstanding period of achievement, because as you know, he was the longest serving Minister of Education in St. Lucia. I think probably served some 13 to 14 years as Minister of Education. So if you look at his portfolio, there is no doubt that you can see some outstanding contribution by him. And it is to his credit that he maintained the momentum.
Over the past 34 years, UNESCO served St. Lucia well, with its work concentrated in 5 key areas.
We have over the years been able to benefit from UNESCO in all of those 5 areas: education, science, culture, human and social science, and information and communication.
The 30-minute documentary tells the stories of the personalities who have served the organization over 3.5 decades and details the projects that have contributed to national development. For the DBS News World, I am Alex Bousquet.
When the DBS News World continues, enhancing water to your health. I'll explain when we come back. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with the broadcast. Windfresh has announced that tomorrow it will launch a significant enhancement to its H2O bottled water. The company says it has added the vital mineral calcium to its water, making it the safest and healthiest purified bottled water to drink in the country. According to Windfresh, the addition of calcium to H2O water was decided based on research that showed that highly purified water removes calcium and other minerals from the water when going through purification via a process called osmosis. The company has disclosed that when water is consumed, it extracts or robs the body of its own calcium, leading to calcium deficiency and other health complications in the short to long term. The launch of H2O water with added calcium will take place at a special public launch on the Derek Walcott Square tomorrow at 3 p.m. Addressing the event will be the Minister of Commerce, Honorable Emma Hippolyte, the Ministry of Health, the St. Lucia Manufacturers Association, and officials from Windfresh. The company will also be launching its line of Windfresh juice beverages during the event. It says major highlights of the launch will include a concert featuring St. Lucia's soca icon Teddyson T.J. John and his live band. And from that to everyday people, here is Alex Bousquet with tonight's presentation.
Meet Gregor Damas, a visually impaired musician who says he started off with the School for the Blind, where he was taught music some 20 years ago.
From there, they had a little club called United Talent Club, which we used to play by the road, and we did that for a couple of years. And then from that, the guys get a little older, and then they decided they can't go again. So I decided, well, I don't want to stop that because this work is kind of difficult for visual impaired people and blind people, so I keep the music going. So I formed up my own band, which is called talented visual impaired.
Gregor says it was a challenge getting started with no electric instruments, and it was tough to obtain them.
We started with some tambour. We had some tambour, them local tambours. We started with that, and then we went by the street, by the roadside, and we started asking for sponsorships, forms, and we raised funds. We buy a little speaker, we raise funds, until when we got some equipment that we have there to help us to survive.
There are two other members in Gregor's band, Innocent and Marcus, and they say that whenever they're not playing, they do absolutely nothing.
We do nothing whatsoever. It's just we just have to just wait for the Friday and the Saturday for us to get a little bread for us to eat, because during the nobody doesn't really to say. Not nobody doesn't really, but they don't really call us to say we're getting contracts or gigs to play that we can keep ourselves going.
The band members say they get a gig or two here and there on occasion, especially during June Creole and Christmas, but they say that's barely enough to provide for their needs.
Normally we go by the road, and we really want to change that. We really want people to hire us to play, because we have the talent and we need some instruments to get our band going. So we need some help in that sort of way.
The men say that many people get the wrong impression when they are seen playing on the street sides and think that they make a ton of money.
People just tell me, but normally, most of the times, it's about what, $200, and sometimes we have to share that, and sometimes the instruments going bad, we have to fix the instruments with that money. So that money, we take it and we share it between all of us. And then whatever we make, we say, okay, look, this is yours. If it's $30, $40, whatever that we make by the website, or even a Point Seraphim, we share it between the members.
Gregor says that for their transition from downtown Castries to Point Seraphim, he has to give thanks to the one responsible for that.
It's helping us to survive. We want to thank Miss Donna. She's the one who really gave us the opportunity to play there, because if it wasn't for that, we don't even know how we're going to survive, because this is bringing a little income from the tourists. When they come here and they listen to the Caribbean music, they're doing something in our little box, and we survive on that. It's helping a lot.
The leader of the talented visually impaired band does have an appeal to the public and hopes that folks would understand.
It's very hard for us as visually impaired with the group. Even sometimes when we play in tongue, people just pass and they don't notice that they're playing. And they don't even realize that it's a cause that we are here. It's because it's a sort of survival for us. We really want the public to help us, and we need instruments. The instruments is not giving the quality of the music that I want, and if there are members who have bands, they know that the music is not the quality that it's supposed to be. They can donate some amplifiers or some speakers for us, because we need that to get the band even much better.
The talented band of visually impaired musicians say its members are struggling to survive, but that they've managed to live long while being short on cash.
I really want to ask the public that if they can hire the band, to get us off the street at least, so we can survive and keep going.
For everyday people, I am Alex Busque.
Thank you so much. And on the lighter side tonight, a Wyoming woman's I do wasn't followed by a kiss, cake, or honeymoon, but a prison sentence for an August crime spree. 25-year-old Israel Silva wore an orange jail jumpsuit and shackles when District Judge Stephen Cranfield wed Silva and 19-year-old Ivy Smith in a courtroom last week. The bride stayed 15 feet away from Silva to comply with the jail's no-contact rules. The ceremony lasted for about a minute, and the judge directed them to take their seats for Silva's sentencing hearing. The judge sentenced Silva to 6 to 10 years in prison for a drunken crime spree in which he stole and crashed 2 pickup trucks. He also used a gun he found in one of the pickups to fire shots at other vehicles and led officers on a chase that reached speeds of up to 110 miles per hour. And that's the lighter side. Brian Calix is next with sports. Stay with us.